Ask you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome all. At this time, we have open time for the public. Any comments from the public? John is here. No. Since we have nobody from the public here, do we want to move on to, what do we got? We got no payroll warrant.
We have a bill warrant.
We have a bill warrant. Why don't we do a bill warrant?
We have a bill warrant W11-39 for a total amount of $96,584.30.
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't see another folder here, Diana, so there's no signatures tonight?
Just that one you just had in your hand.
What was that? Reggie sent us something in the mail for one of those housing contracts. It was on the email that I got late this afternoon. Maybe it's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I have not seen it, so we might have just gotten it today.
It was for East Street.
I can go check and see if she put it out.
Maybe it was just in anticipation, but I thought it was for signature tonight.
Door coming your way. Thank you.
Yeah, this compliment and page thing came, Diana tells me at 4 o'clock this afternoon, which is why you didn't get it sooner, so I have not. That was a detailed letter.
We have to do something in 14 days.
I will get it.
Certified mail, non-compliance. Respond in 14 days.
Let's see if there's anything else we can do. Yeah, let's remember that charter is on next week, next Tuesday. You got the letter from our attorney as to what our options are. And I think we're meeting with finance that night too.
So finance isn't tonight. I had finance on.
I think we changed. No one told me it changed, but evidently it did.
Yeah.
So, and a reminder that this Thursday, March 24th, 7 o'clock is town caucus.
What did we learn, that we had to have 25?
Right. 25. 25 is a quorum.
Cool.
And there should be a PVC warrant there too, I think.
There's one form, one of those homeowner agreements that you're talking about for East Street. And then there's an invoice for the housing rehab work that needs to be signed by the board for PVC.
This is a FY10 housing rehab applicant. It needs to be signed and returned to PVPC, I would think this is. And this is for one of our citizens, property on East Street. Up to $30,000. It's the same thing we've been signing for these as they come in for a while. Anyone want to look at that, please? And at the same time, we have a PVPC invoice for services rendered to administer the FY10 Southampton Community Development Fund Program, highlights and accomplishments for the period of December 2010 through January 2011. Housing rehabilitation, the waiting list was maintained, expected initial housing rehabilitation inspection in early 2011. Conducted meeting with interested applicants to describe the program, determine income eligibility, public outreach for housing rehabilitation. Newspaper ads were posted. The warrant is, or the bill is for $2,731.09. It is broken down by direct, software, advertising. It requires our signature. This is coming from a grant, right, Diana?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How much is left in the grant, do we know?
I don't know.
There's enough to cover this.
Yeah, that's only invoice number 2.
Motion to approve.
One second.
Is there all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, Jess, are you still on that application?
Yes.
Okay. You know, what also was in that email that she sent to Diana was timber cutting permits.
There weren't any, there was just a header for it? Sorry, there was one in there, yes. That's true.
You got that email too? Yeah, there was,
There's 60 pages in all.
Yeah.
I scanned through
I did also, so there should
Okay,
be.
there's a folder for timber cutting. I'll just grab it. Hopefully it's in there.
There was something about a timber cutting
it.
permit.
There's one, that's right. She made dividers for each
Yeah.
section.
We get
Agreement is made.
documents the day, I mean, who's going to be able to read them?
They're very brief, but I just remember, I looked at it very quickly and I don't remember what it was, but it was a timber cutting permit in there.
Right, there was one.
Doesn't mean we have to approve it tonight, but it was part of the mail today. You were gonna say, Jess?
No, it was just, that was it. This seems fine, this PVPC rehab memo.
Okay, you want to get that?
You gotta do Pat?
Yeah, we'll do that right after. We do these two things.
This is signature. Do you see any place for yours?
Yeah, right here. Thomas Southampton, bye.
Okay,
So you want a motion on this owner's agreement with the PVPC?
Make a motion to approve and sign?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, why don't we, we
to
got,
do the timber cutting?
we got a timber cutting, what do we got? This was a letter, March 17th, to Christopher Wayne, Conservation Commission, and Forester John Edwards, from did this come from us, or did this come from Ed Colley?
No, that's the letter we send
We send
that
for
tells
both.
them that they need to go see the
Oh.
highway department.
And did we get any time, did this one go to the highway department?
I presume that it did, and that's, we need to send a letter out and have them
We need
come
to
in.
get it.
The letter was sent March 17th, so I don't know whether, I doubt they've come in yet, but I don't know, I haven't checked with Ed.
We'll put this off, we need to look at this, things. We'll come back to this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on your agenda under discussion
I
items.
don't want to talk about that. Mr. Roberts, sir, how are you? Very good. We asked you here to discuss the problem we had with the senior center and plumbing permits that have delayed us in getting that set for the seniors.
You have the questions.
Yeah, could you please explain to us
what happened. From what I can understand, and this is all secondhand information, that's why we wanted you here, that we asked to proceed with the kitchen, and you said, no, you've got to use Belanders.
At that present time, Mr. Belanger had a permit for the senior center. Once you file for a permit or an application, that means the job is rough, plumbing, water piping, rough, and finish. That means setting fixtures, connections. We also took a gas permit, which is not documented, which means he has to do the rough gas piping, has the rough inspection, then he has to connect and have a final inspection. Then it's documented, the job is complete. I got a call from Paul and he says, we were only doing the rough thing. I said, Paul, you know better. It's right in the state code book. Once you have a permit in your hand, you're liable for rough and completion. Unless you want to terminate. So he sent me this little letter here first, which is not legal according to state code, so I stopped down and saw him. I think you've got a copy of it. If not, I've got a copy here. Which says he's terminating his permit because he only contracted to do the rough plumbing only. Okay? Excuse me.
I've got copies of your 2 pages.
This is the copy, the way it should be filed. And I also sent a copy of state code on termination. And legal as far as permit holder, what the permit holder has to do. So now he's terminated, there is no permit in the senior center. So nothing can be completed in the senior center until someone else pulls a permit for completion. And that has to be inspected. And then it would be completed and documented and terminated. And that's how the state code works.
Okay,
So right now, there is no permit back there to set fixtures or the sink over in the daybreak room. That's why those sinks are not connected.
Okay, it was explained to you very clearly that that portion of the project was not included in the original bid, and it is not part of that project.
Statewide roughed it to his point of his contract. That is in,
His contract did not include finished work in that senior center, sir.
it did not include statewide either. Statewide was to run the drainage pipe to the senior center, a vent pipe to the senior center, and water pipe. Finish and complete the bathroom, which he did. It's all documented, right in this folder.
Okay, but the portion of the senior center, which isn't contention now, it's debatable, is the kitchen area.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, Belanger pulled a permit to rough and complete the senior center. Rough and complete.
He couldn't pull okay. If he did pull a permit to complete it, it was not in his scope of work. It was very, very clear because that was an alternate which was not accepted. And that was explained to you very, very clearly. In the beginning, you didn't know that. We said, that's fine, you didn't know it because you weren't at all these building reuse meetings. And then we made it very clear to you that this finished portion of the kitchen,
It
okay?
still needs a permit of that.
That's not the point, sir.
It
The
is
point,
the point.
no, it is not. That's not why you're here now. The point is, okay, we were told Belanger's doing that, period. And we ran around like chickens with our heads cut off for a month and a half. And then finally David McDougall went up to you and you said, he needs a letter, we need a letter from Belanger releasing that job. And that's fine. But in a meeting, you could have told us that in the very beginning. You never did.
Belanger did that when they called me.
That doesn't, okay, the Building Reuse Committee we're trying to make this thing work, and we're running around like nuts saying the plumbing inspector won't do this, the plumbing inspector won't do that. And then we went and told you, I know I did, that the finished portion of that kitchen was not a part of the original contract. I said it right in front of the building inspector.
That was this original contract. When Belanger told us, I didn't know he was not just doing the rock.
I told you in the beginning of this problem, and you said, no, Belanger's doing it, that's it. And I said, that's not a part of the contract. And that's why we're here tonight, to try to get an understanding of what went on and why.
Well, that's what went on.
Okay, but we should have been told, the Building Reuse Committee and the Select Board, okay, that in order to terminate this contract with Belanger or whatever, the permit, he had to send a letter, that's all, and release it, because that was not a portion of his work from the beginning of the job. He never signed for that. That was not an original scope of the work.
Well, the scope of the thing is that the permit says you will do both parts. When he filed for that permit, he did not put rough only on it.
Okay, you never told us that he could get out of this, which he's got to do anyways, because that's not a portion of his job, by cleaning out his permit, by requesting, okay, all my inspections are done, I'm not doing the finish on this, it wasn't in my scope of the work.
Then he should have sent me a termination letter.
No, you should have told us that that's what he had to do.
Well, I'm sorry, I thought I had to tell the plumber. The plumber's the guy that's liable for the permit. The permit holder.
But when we asked you, what can we do with this, what's going on?
We're talking to you about having him relinquish that permit.
No, that came out later with McDougal, just a week or so ago. A week or two ago, he talked to the building inspector. Was it a week or two?
No, last week he talked.
Yeah.
It's a mute point. Either way, you need 2 permits for the job. Because the guy only did half the job. So now somebody's got a permit to finish it.
Well, he did
No matter how you figure it.
He did 100% of the job that he was paid to do.
Right. But
Which
they
is
still
half.
have the job left to be done.
Right.
So they need another
But
permit
there
to
was
pull
no
it.
permit, and he relinquished his permit.
Right, so the timing of getting him to do that seems to be the problem.
No, I think the timing and everything should be along to the reuse committee because they're the one that set up this deal with him. You know, he should have known what he was signing up for to do half the work.
Building
I
Reuse
don't
Committee,
understand why, I don't understand the reuse committee, why they would sign a contract for half of the job.
Because we didn't have the money at that time. If we did include that, we couldn't have started the job or signed a contract with the general contractor because we've exhausted all of our funds. We would have to go back to town
But
meeting
as
for
long
another
as his
40,000.
permit is in hand with me, that permit is good until the job is complete.
I'm not debating that.
that's true.
You're not allowed.
I'm not debating that, sir.
Then you should have left him, had him bid the whole job and told him.
But we didn't have the money. We didn't have the money.
I can't help that part. You relinquished the
No, the
permit.
problem is this, the problem is, you would not let us proceed with that. Okay, you weren't telling us what to do to get out of this, which we had the legal right to do. We weren't in contract with Belanger's for the finished portion of that kitchen. That was not a part of the scope of the work. Okay, you should have told us right off the bat. All Belanger's has got to do is get a permit, clean out his permit, get a letter from him, and then the town can hire whomever they want to do for the electrical and the plumbing. But you didn't do that. You let us hang for a month and a half.
I'm sorry, I didn't think it seemed that I did.
You certainly did, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't think I did at all. I went by the rule.
Yeah, but you didn't tell us what we had to do to make this thing progress. This act here cost us like a month and a half for finish on that kitchen.
More or less. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. All I'm saying is it has to have another permit to progress. And that's a state law, that's not my law.
What I'm trying to say is, you did not tell us what to do in order for us to tell Belanger, or you to tell Belanger, Okay, give us a letter saying you're done with the job, all your inspections are
I
done.
did when Paul called me and said, what's the problem? I said, I don't know. As far as I know, you're supposed to finish the job.
No.
He said, no, my scope is only to rough the job. I said, I need a letter of termination if you want to terminate.
When was that conversation with
Oh,
Paul?
God, I don't remember. He sent me this letter first. And there's no date on it. That's why I said it's not what code says I have to do. All it says is Pat Belanger Plumbing Heating wishes to terminate the current plumbing permit issued for Larry Kitchen School.
No.
Our scope of work was rough home. Paul Chartier, private. Well, Paul, I don't know what you're doing. I don't read your contract. That's what I told Paul Chartier. I said, you gotta send me a legal letter of termination. And that's the letter I just handed you. That's the legal letter of termination. And the other letter that was handed in, that is what is in the state code book. As far as the holder and the holdee of a permit. How to terminate and what the holdee has to do.
Well, we have extended, in the way you're interpreting it, as far as I'm concerned, is because he has the permit for, let's say, the beginning of the job, the rough of everything, and the finish on a partial, except for one thing. The way I'm reading it from you is they've got to give him the awarding authority, that other portion that wasn't covered in the scope, because he has the permit, and that's not true.
I don't understand what you're trying to tell me.
No, he's not saying that.
Pardon?
He's not saying that. But, and then Paul knows, just like you know, you're an electrical contractor, you know how this works. If you want to stop a job, you have to do the same thing. You have to send a letter saying you relinquish the job, blah, blah, blah. Well, the plumber should know too. So if he knew he was only doing part of the work, he should have said, I'm all done, here's a letter.
I'm terminated. Daily inspection.
They don't know the law, just like, you know.
He's not terminated because he finished his contract. He signed up for a certain scope of
Terminating
work.
his permit.
That's correct, yes, and I agree with you on that.
Permit.
Yeah.
To go any further.
But the problem here is you never told us from the beginning.
I'm sorry, Doug, I didn't know I had to hold your hand, but they can tell you what the problem
Well,
is.
you're the plumbing inspector, not me. We went to you. You were the holdup, if you recall. You were the one that said, I'm not opening that building unless that's done. And we said, that is not a part of the scope of the work.
That was when statewide was still holding their permit here.
So why weren't we told at that
And
point,
statewide.
if they terminate their permit,
Statewide didn't have a termination because his permit was pulled with rough only underground to that section. And that one bathroom that's out there.
okay, this problem cost the town, some serious time. And then as fate would have it, we had snow problems and we just ceased all work over there because we've got pending problems that they gotta get straightened out. Okay,
Yeah.
I think there's enough. Yeah.
I guess what we're after is some better communications when we have a problem, especially with a municipal building, to know from you and the inspectors what's our problems and what are our options, because we rely on you professionals to tell us, and I think we just need better communication. When it's a it's a town building that has a problem, we need to know more sooner rather than later, and not rely that it's going to come back to us somehow other way. All right.
So, can I have a question?
Sure.
Pat, weren't aware that Belanger's just had the rough contract?
No, I was not until Paul Crozier called me. And I told Paul he needed a letter of termination. If he wanted to terminate his permit that he had.
And then we had a termination that wasn't very legal, and then a second termination.
This is what I call my FY book, FY11. This is the month's permits that were pulled, applications. If you go in here and you want, say, 6/11, George Propane tells me where the job is and when it was done. It was 105 Glendale Road. Now, Belanger's pulled the same type of permit to do gas work.
But you
This
didn't,
is for the complete job when you pull a permit like this.
for
so
both
when
the
it's-
rough and the finish?
Correct. So when it's,
How did he do that?
Well,
you
like I
have
said-
to do it. And then it's all documented as to what, this one here, the underground piping was done, the testing was done, and the COs were all, underground work was all completed.
He had to do that even though he was only gonna be responsible for the rough finish?
Correct. Even I have to do that myself when I work. If I don't want to,
Miscommunication.
Yeah. Just, yeah,
Sounds
before,
like a
can I just ask
miscommunication.
Pat a question? Pat, since we've opened the new building, on an unrelated subject, are your records now in the building here?
are my records in here?
Yes.
No, I don't have a computer.
What are your files in here?
My files are in the file cabinet.
Here?
Yes, I keep 2 of these at home.
Okay. But
For
your,
reasons. I need them every day.
but your files, your permanent files are here in the building?
And everything at home is on, I've got it on a disk and I've got it on a flash drive. Plus my papers.
But our permanent files are now here in the building?
Yeah, there's 3 books that are not in the room. They're in the office over there. And I need them for daily work to go back. If like somebody called me that has not completed a job in FY10 or FY9, I gotta go back in the books. And they call me between 7 and 8 in the morning at my home.
Right, but I'm still confused. Are the permanent files now here? Because at one point in time, when we were in the other building, you didn't have room, and your files were home.
Correct.
But now your files are here.
Correct.
If any of your permanent records are in the building, if they were needed.
The permanent records that are in the building are in the file cabinet.
But I keep hearing a hedge there. Are all your permanent
No,
records?
all the files are not here.
Okay. What records are not here?
These books that are like this that I started making.
Okay. But those are the so at some point in time, your original there are
Originals, when I get done documenting, I bring them in here and leave.
Would a better practice be to leave either copy or the original here, and you take a copy with you, so that at all times there's a permanent record here?
I can do that, but it's gonna take more paperwork and more money.
Well,
It's gotta be done. I mean, we're supposed to have all the records in here, not all over the place.
We're waiting for a desk for Pat in there now. We're Pat, that's this there, we got a computer ready to go for him, but we need a desk to put it on, so.
And I understand that, but we still.
Once that's there, everything should be on computer.
Yeah, I know, but the records still need to be here. I mean, I understand he doesn't have a desk, but the
I'll move it
records.
all there.
Did we order the desk, or did we, with the desk? So that's
So
being
that will be
done.
coming pretty soon?
Okay. You had a question, I just didn't-
Okay, to the building inspector, sir. Several months ago, when this became an issue, when the building reuse committee was trying to get people in there, and the plumbing inspector said no, because someone else has a permit. Okay, so we went, Diana and I, the next day, to your office, if you recall, and we said that portion of the work was not of the original scope of work. Okay? That's a separate job. It was not a portion of Belanger's, and no, just the rough, that's it. And you said, okay, I'll take care of it, we should be able to do something, and we still couldn't get anywhere with it. And then, last week, Dave went to your office, I believe, and then, I don't know if it was Pat or you that said, all Belanger's has got to do is give a letter stating I'm all done, it's all inspected, blah, blah, blah. And now everything's honky-dory, but we lost a month and a half. We knew in the very beginning, and you did, that this was not a portion of the original scope of work. Because Diane and I went in your office, do you recall that?
Whatever.
Yeah, we did, we did, and we said, look, talk to Pat, we don't always have the pleasure of seeing you, sir.
I talk to Pat almost every day.
Yeah.
So like I say, there's that time over there just says, Pat, you know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I'm
Okay.
saying, if he didn't know that Belanger wasn't finishing the job, he would have said, Belanger's not done. If he still had a permit open.
If he didn't send their letter of termination, that permit would still be open.
And if Belanger finished a job, if you hired him to finish a job, he could have kept that permit, would have been all done anyways.
Well,
Permit
It's the
is
same
issued. The
permit.
permit is issued, as long as it's issued, it's not.
when was he given a final on it for all the finish work in this place? When did you issue him a final?
I didn't issue Belanger the final. I only gave him a rough.
Okay, we're not talking about the senior, we're talking about everything but the
Statewide?
finish. No, okay, listen, but the finished work, excluding the finished work on the kitchen. When was Belanger done? Because we were in this place. So we couldn't have an occupancy
You
permit.
got an
unless he was done.
occupancy through statewide. Statewide mechanical was your original plumber.
What did he do, sub it to Belanger?
No, he roughed up to the point of the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
the stubs. Because that trench is closed now, there's no way to get it up in there, so they had him run drainage pipe up through the trench. Then the vents are up overhead, so you're in the vents out to that point. That was his termination point. That's when he got a final, all his fixtures are set. There was nothing else completed rough out there. He said, I'm not going any further, I only have to stub. And he was legally at a cap on each end, the drain end and the vent end.
And the electrical was the same, everything was roughed in, and that was the
No,
end
it
of
was
it.
just stubbed out there. There was nothing out in that room whatsoever. There was a pipe sticking out of the floor, there was a vent up in the ceiling with 2 water lines capped.
But then when did Belanger do his,
Then Belanger pulled, after statewide got their completion, which is in this folder. Belanger came to me and pulled another permit to rough the senior center.
and when was that finished?
And they called me and said, can you come down and tell us what's going on? Because we don't know. That's why I didn't understand why statewide didn't complete the job. Belanger sent their permits to me on 10/20/10 and 12/14/10. They sent me gas on 12/14. The plumbing was sent to me on 20/10. I don't document starting dates. The roughs were done on December 22nd and December 22nd. They're both done the same day.
What about the finish
The finish ain't done.
for Belanger's?
Belanger don't have a finish.
Okay. I'm losing it. Did Belanger do all the plumbing in this place?
No,
State?
statewide.
Yeah,
did.
okay.
And Blanchard only got the permit application.
Statewide did the original plumbing. The same plumber,
Yeah,
Mike Gore, out of Hatfield. That's all documented.
And then Belanger did the rough for the
And
kitchen.
the only reason to document it this way is because the building permit was not big enough to document every inspection.
sure.
So there was a page for every inspection that was done. It started right in the basement when I made them pull all the pipe out because they were sitting on clay. You can't set pipe on clay. That's in the code. So I made them pull everything out and make the thing deeper, put sand in it. So that's documented in there. The whole page is that long. It's
All
right
right,
there.
okay, good. I'm happy, yep, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. We have to move on.
Thank you, sir.
We're a little late with planning board. John, how are you?
Evening?
You're here about a dumpster regulation.
Yes,
And this is a joint effort with the Board of Health and the building inspector.
yes, who are sitting right here with us.
And for the select board, the proposed dumpster regulations are attached to your minutes as an amendment right behind you. Why don't you go ahead?
Sure, this has been an iterative process. Rich came to the planning board meeting about, I want to say 3 months ago, and he was basically looking for us to throw some language in the zoning code to actually give him a little bit more bite when it came to dumpsters. There was an issue in town, and if there was an issue with a dumpster, there was nothing in our code that really was enforceable. So we said we'd take a look at it, and what happened was that we realized that we didn't really have anything that was any value. So we put together a draft dumpster regulation, and we formed that by researching other communities, seeing what they had and what their enforcements were. What was that, 8 pages, 9 pages? It was extensive, but it was meant as a palette
pick and choose what we want here and see how far we want to go with it. So we gave it to the Board of Health and to Rich, and through the efforts of the Planning Board, the Health Department, and Rich, we parted it down to 4 pages. And the intent of it is just to basically provide the Board of Health and the building inspector with the ability to manage the dumpsters in town. As you drive through, the residential ones, the biggest problem we see with those is that they're put on someone's lawn. They're not on a hard surface, so the truck has to drive over the lawn to pick them up. It ruts, and then the mud tracks on the roadway. With the commercial dumpsters, they're kind of placed wherever it's convenient. There's no enclosure around them. And when you're standing there, particularly like at Dunkin' Donuts, and you're at the drive-thru, the dumpsters are all lined up there. I've seen the tops open. Rich has commented about they're open. So it becomes a kind of a hazard to have them there, and they're unsightly. So the regulation does a couple things. The first is that it requires a registration. So if you are a residential or a commercial or non-residential use, you have to register your dumpster. It's done every year. There's a $25 residential fee and a $100 commercial non-residential fee. And it's renewable every year. But what it does is it starts a paperwork trail who has a dumpster in town. If you currently have a dumpster, and if this is passed at town meeting, if you have a dumpster, you have basically 6 months to bring your dumpster where it's placed into compliance. We met with Ed Colley and asked him for his input as well. His only concern was that some of the dumpsters that he has seen, they're off the driveway or wherever they're located. So if the regulation requires that the dumpster be on a hard surface and the path going to it be a hard surface, if that requires a second curb cut, then another permit is needed to be pulled from his department in order to do that. For a residential dumpster, there's really no requirements other than that it's placed on a hard surface. It can be a driveway, it can be a path off the driveway, it can be crushed stone, anything that is traffic bearing. It can be anything. For a commercial dumpster, it gets a little bit more intensive. You have those requirements, but then there's a screening requirement that goes with it as well. So the dumpster is contained in a corral in case any trash does blow out of it. It's contained within it. That enclosure can be landscaping. It can be plants of a certain height. It can be an opaque screen. It can be chain link fence with privacy slats in it. It gives a lot of leeway to what that can be. They have to have doors on the front that are kept closed at all time, except for when they're servicing. It requires the company providing the dumpster to have their name and their address and contact information stenciled right on the front of the dumpster, so in case Rich or the Board of Health have any issues, they know who to contact. And the other thing is that this provides an enforcement for both departments. If the top is left open and there's animals seen coming in and out of it, Rich or the Board of Health can notify that owner. It needs to be fixed. Within 12 hours, it has to be corrected, or they're subject to a fine. So that's kind of a very brief summary of it. It's been a pretty collaborative effort. I've been the chairman for almost a year. And this is really the first effort that we've had, I think, as a board, where we've got multiple departments involved. It went pretty smoothly, I think. We started with a draft that was way left field. We knew that it had way too much stuff in it, and just through the iterative process back and forth, I think we cut it down, and we have a pretty decent regulation here.
So I would assume you're asking us to put this on the town warrant?
Yes, we have noticed this for the next coming planning board meeting, which is April 6th. It was advertised last week, and tomorrow will be the second advertisement. So we'll hold our public meeting on it April 6th, this coming Wednesday, not tomorrow, but next week. We'll have public comment on it, and then what we'll do is we'll send a referral over to you with the final draft for having it put on the warrant.
You have,
I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask a couple questions, if that's okay. When it talks about setback, 75 feet,
Yes.
there may be issues in town where that's not able to achieve, like Dunkin' Donuts is near that small neighborhood apartments. Post office probably has one.
Right.
The school might have one. Opa has one right up against the fence on the property line. So you're talking about some issues with compliance with that, and
Right.
are there any grandfathering, or do they have to move the dumpsters from the site, you know?
They don't have to move it, and the code actually has 3 requirements where that you can actually leave the dumpster where it is. What is written underlying here is that the requirements for the dumpster, their placement, their screening, everything really lies with the building inspector. So he can go through it, and this was one of the discussions we had, where if you have a fairly larger development in town, the dumpster is located in back, not seen from the public because it's surrounded by the buildings or the parking lot or wherever. This requires you to have a screen around it because it's a commercial dumpster. But the owner of that property can actually ask the building inspector to come and visit the property. If it's well maintained, if it's clean, if it has a lid on it and the dumpster complies with the underlying regulation, as the building inspector, he has a right to waive these requirements on an individual basis. And
The other question I have is fence height in town is 6 feet, and we had a huge conversation regarding that. Some of the dumpsters are actually taller than 6 feet.
yes.
So if it is like on a business property line, they're gonna have to get a waiver from the ZBA because their fence height is gonna be higher than 6 feet on the property line?
We set the fence height at 6 feet. So the intent of the,
But some of the dumpsters are actually taller than 6
yes, the
feet.
dumpster will stick up over the fence.
You don't expect them to screen the whole dumpster, but...
That's correct. The intent of the screening is that as you put the waste in there, you always get some that blow out. And the underlying intent of the screening is to keep it from going all the way down the street and onto abutting properties.
Thank you.
Have you talked to any of the businesses or folks around and gotten any feedback?
I imagine that will come on Wednesday.
That'll be the first.
That would be the first, yes.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I just had a quick observation I wanted to show you here. Above enforcement should be accept, not expect. Just a typo.
We have edit 1.
That's his job on our,
No,
that's his forte. John, I had a couple of issues. The temporary dumpsters, I think there should be some definition as into length of time as to what a temporary dumpster is. We could have a large construction project going on where a large dumpster is on property a year, 2 years, or something like that, and then they would call that a temporary dumpster. And the residential one, the exception of no screening, that's almost, I think personally, my comment would be that's where it needs more screening is in a residential neighborhood as opposed to commercial. Because I've got a couple of dumpsters around my house,
Yes.
and they're the homeliest things you've ever. They
are.
tend to, like you say, dump them in the front yard, and it's been there for 2 years. And I'm curious about screening in the residential areas and also a maximum size in the residential areas.
For the dumpster?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually, on the first draft, let me just make a note of those. Residential screening, and the other one was?
Maximum size of a residential one. I mean, some of them have
4 yards or something should be maximum for residential.
residential. You don't want to see someone put one on their driveway for the length.
You have somebody in town who's got a 30 yards or 20 yards for a year and a half. Every time I go by, it's all this trash bags in there.
Yeah.
Garbage has been in there for a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you picked up on those, because on the temporary ones, we actually, originally on our original draft, we had a time limit on it. And we said that a temporary dumpster can only be considered temporary for a period of 6 months. And that it required a registration the same as a permanent dumpster did. And through discussions with the board, that ended up getting cut out because they said a temporary dumpster is for a roof, and you're going to make someone come in for a roof and do that. But when you have there's always ways to get around a loophole and stuff like that. So we can talk about adding that in.
That would just, because I have some residential dumpsters in my neighborhood.
Yeah. And as far as the screening on the residential goes, we never talked about the maximum size. That actually is a unique concept we can look at. But as far as the residential screening, we originally had a very low-level type of screening for residential, which basically was arborvitae's. It was planted around it just to hide it. And then, again, that got taken out, just to make it a little bit more palatable and try and get it approved. But we can talk about those. I will bring these comments back to the board on Wednesday, and we'll
We're going to need, if you intend to present that to us, that should get reviewed by town council, I would think.
Yes.
So the timing of this is going to be, when do we have to have the warrant?
I think I'm telling people like April 18th or 19th, and 18th's a holiday, so April 19th.
I think the edits that we might end up with on this are minor. I mean, we've already kind of sorted through all the issues as a group. I would feel very comfortable sending this in form that is right now to town council for review. It would, you know, a couple spellings aside, these minor things here, I don't think that's going to change the intent of the bylaw one bit. So Diane, I think I emailed that to Regina. If you still have that PDF form, we can just forward that right to the town council for review.
Does anybody have a motion to do that?
So moved.
I'll second that. It seems good. Yeah, good
All in
idea.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good
Thanks,
night.
John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board of Health, did Board of Health want to weigh in on that, or?
No, we went back and forth a number of times.
You think this will make a big improvement in terms of, I don't know, health?
From our standpoint, from animals, from kids, I mean, I think the intent is to keep kids, animals, and sanitation from our standpoint. So I think that it'll help definitely.
Okay. Richard, anything?
Yeah, same thing, you know, I deal with Ed. A lot of them are right on the edge of the road. And he calls up people to come and move them, and they never move them, so it's been a pain all winter to plow with dumpsters 2 feet from the road, and they are around town. So.
Okay, thank you.
One other question, is there an exemption for farms, farm use, farming, or anything like that? I meant to ask that, I'm
I
sorry.
didn't see it in there. Exemption for farm use.
Farming? Okay.
I didn't see it in there. All right, moving on. I don't see any minutes here, Diane, right?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Town administrators report.
No comment. We can talk later. Yes. Reggie gave it to you.
You are. Seriously, I won it last night. That's why you won it.
Oh, the Hampshire Regional School budget.
Yeah. At some point, you had asked me about the contract and what the status was. Yeah. So that is the status of the contract. It was negotiated. It was finalized last August for the teachers, and those are the increases. The paraprofessionals and the administrative assistants have not settled their contract at this time, so they are still in negotiations. When I got that information from Craig, I did respond. In FY12, there's not going to be an increase in insurance premiums. So I just had a question in terms of the contract, if it could be, if that increase that says that they're getting an additional increase to offset the insurance premiums, if there was no increase in insurance premiums, would that then be adjusted? And I haven't heard back from them yet.
You're sure that there's no increase?
Correct. There's no increases in FY12.
That's good.
Do you want to handle these point by point and just go down through them?
The other two, yeah, number 2 is the, actually, I'm going to make a copy for myself. I'm sorry. Yes, you had previously discussed taping other meetings when we were at the old town hall. Short of getting these meetings live, which we're still working with Charter to try to accomplish, we are ready with our equipment upgrades and et cetera to do other meetings, to tape other meetings. And I just wanted to get input from you, if you had any preference on who was taped, or if you have any feelings about that.
How much is it to tape a meeting?
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to find out how much more we want to do, because Greg and I feel like we should probably enter into some kind of, not do it by meeting. We should enter into some kind of, either contract for all the work, at a lower price point, or just basically decide how much work we're going to have them do. And I know a lot of that's unknown because we don't have our new contract and we don't know what our PEG figures are going to be. But we still have most of our PEG money remaining from our previous grant.
And was our thinking that taping the meetings was a more reliable way than having minutes of these meetings?
Not so much, mostly just for public visibility. It wasn't necessarily have a more reliable record, although that would be the case, but we've had a lot of requests for other meetings. We've had a lot of requests.
Harder taping.
Yeah, we've had a lot of requests to get our meetings back on live, which we're working on. And these meetings, once that happens, would also be live, and they would be taped as well, and then we could replay them. The goal is to have enough programming to start replaying some of this on the channel. So it wouldn't just be like one meeting 1 week. You'd see replays of some of these meetings. So the planning board seemed willing. I've spoken to all the groups, and except for the Conservation Commission, which is a little timid about it, all of the rest of them are interested, including the school committee, although I haven't, they're meeting at the school, but I did mention it to them and I don't think that they would be against it.
They'd have the equipment over at Norris?
No, they'd meet here. They'd meet in this room. I mean, I don't know, they only meet once a month. It's just an idea, just so, again, so people could really see the meetings and see what's going on. Those have been our two biggest requests, have been planning board and school committee.
So Diana, how would this fit in when the guy from ECTV was here a while back? They talked about public interest sorts of programming as well. These obviously are government meetings. So would there be any interaction between, if we start these with respect to what they do in Easthampton? Remember we talked about that, about folks sort of using that as an access channel?
Yes. Yes, the goal is, we have a whole, Greg actually has a proposal that he's working on, which I want to get to you in a couple weeks. He's meeting with his board next week. But this would be sort of the first step, to start taping more government meetings. And then he also has a list of projects that are more educational and local, public. He has projects that people have asked for from the town of Southampton. Citizens have asked for to be able to create projects. They actually have projects that have already been started that they'd like to complete. And then he's spoken to the schools, and they're interested in doing, putting things up like maybe local sports, events at the schools. They have concerts. They have a artist in residence in the next couple months that will be coming and do projects with the kids. And so those kinds of things. Master planning, I was hoping to do a little more as we get toward the end of the master planning process, when we start really identifying, the final components of the plan. I thought we could start taping those just to get people more interested in the plan. When we have our grand opening, we talked about doing Old Home Days, we talked about doing Memorial Day, and our grand opening, our dedication ceremony here. So those are some other projects we've talked about. So collectively, if you want to move forward, and you're interested in those as well, then we would do a more formal proposal that would include everything and not do it all piecemeal.
I think we need to know a price for you.
True.
I mean, I see a definite benefit, but the cost of this, taking on this building and the cost of that, depending on what it is.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that, and I can give you, when we have that number, and he's working on that. We met today, and he's working on a budget number, which will be broken out, and then I can give you that along with what we currently have in our PEG funds, and then a recommendation for our next contract.
Is it possible to start slowly and kind of build up so that our budget eventually gets better, and so we can support more programming?
Absolutely,
go
yeah.
along, but just at least start
Absolutely.
with the government.
Yep. The only, what we're trying to do is, get a sense of what we're going to want to accomplish in the next 3 to 5 years, because presumably that will be the term of our contract with Charter. So we just want to make sure that the funding that we ask for in that contract for PEG activities covers, what we actually want to do for work. So that's what we're trying to do, come up with a budget. But I basically just wanted to get your input on, whether you were interested in taping more meetings and more activities. We've talked about it in general, but specifically the government meetings, I guess we had talked about that there had been some hesitancy from some of the groups, and when we moved over here, you had said once this room was set up to tape, anybody that was meeting in here was going to get taped. Right. So I just wanted to kind of start putting that idea out to the boards and committees so they can start, more formalizing their processes, so when they're televised, they're not, just kind of thrown out there.
So do we still feel that way?
I think it's a great idea to do more taping, absolutely. Because not only does it provide a accurate record, I'm not sure what points of law might be with respect to that, but certainly the principle of doing more taping and broadcasting to a wider audience, I think is great. Really do.
Lets the town know what's going on.
Lets the town know what's going on, of course.
So I think we need to know a price.
So work on a budget, get you guys a budget? Okay, great.
Doesn't charter support some of the public part? We have some funds?
Yes, some of it, there's two pots of money. One's for capital, and one is an annual amount, but it's a subscriber pass-through, so basically it goes on to the bills to some extent.
It's not really a grant.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
it's just comes out of the fees, the cost.
Comes out of what?
Increases your
Cable
cable
costs.
costs.
It comes out of that.
There's a franchise fee that gets charged. Right now, it's very minimal because our last grant has been amortized. But basically what they do is they take it and they amortize it over the course of the contract. So each month you might see an increase of like I think the last one was like 40 cents or something. But that was because we did it in a short time frame. Usually it's much lower than that. It's like 14 or 15 cents.
Because
It's over a longer period of time. Okay, thank you.
Regional programs?
Yeah, regional programs, you've talked a little bit about regionalization. I've given you information before other programs have come through. The Hampshire Council of Governments recently hired a new executive director, and they are interested in getting input from the communities on the possible regional programs that we might be interested in. So there's two surveys here. One is for accounting and one is for, again, for the building or the inspection program, which I had reviewed before just for, I think, building inspector. This one is that they're expanding it out to cover all the inspectors, including gas, plumbing, gas, and electrical.
What's the yearly cost?
It would be on an assessment basis. Like last time what they did is they gave us an estimate based on our 3 previous years of permitting, and then the assessment's based on a rolling 3-year average once you get into the program.
So I guess the question is...
Permits issued.
They
So
want us
we-
to complete the survey, right?
Yeah, my question is, do you just want to express interest in in these programs?
Do we have somebody come by and talk to us?
Sure.
Come in, some questions.
I think we could express interest. I mean,
I agree with that,
It's a
yeah.
saving, usually a savings, right?
I'm very much in favor of that. I think we certainly owe it to the town budget to take a look at economies of scale.
So how do you wish to proceed then?
Can someone from their office come by and explain us what the options are, average costs?
Well, I mean, it's been a while, but we had the inspector here 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe?
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know, you want somebody to come down and...
Yeah, I mean, it's just so...
Do they have an outreach program for the county government, council on governance to someone that a liaison or somebody to
We
come?
have 2 elected people on the board.
Yeah,
So
but-
we could have them come, but they also have liaisons from the COG that will come out to your
Yeah,
meeting.
somebody to inform us what we can look to, you know, like Pioneer Valley does.
Sure.
How about that, you want to ask that?
Yeah.
Or you guys have something different in mind?
Well, that we're interested, and we have some questions. Could they come on?
Sounds good.
But
I mean, is it worth filling out the survey, though?
well, that's the question issue.
Right, the gas survey? I don't think the accounting, probably.
Well, there's one program that you have the survey for, the accounting is not in place yet. It's just to see if there's enough communities interested in what portion of that you'd be interested in. The second program, the Hampshire Inspection Program, exists, and it looks like they're expanding it to provide plumbing, gas, and electrical as well now. So I think if you're interested in possibly joining the inspection program, then to have someone come specifically to talk about that. If you just in general want to know more about the COG and the programs they're thinking of starting or information like that, then we would have probably a different person come.
I would think we'd come to talk about this.
Yeah, well, the question is, you want to complete the survey and ask someone to come down, or do you want to just...
Both, but I mean, if you're really interested, have someone come down and sell it to us and...
Are you going to complete the survey? Who's going to...
Well, I think the accounting one, I would work with David on completing it because I don't know But if you're interested in,
But are we interested in the accounting one?
yeah, if
Would
you're,
be yes.
Yes.
Could be because we're gonna lose our
Talk about
account.
succession planning in that department?
yep.
Would
And
be
I
very
think
much interested in
but
it.
with the inspection one, I think that if you're interested, then I agree with David, you should probably have that person come and give you, just give you some more information about the program, then you can talk about specifics on.
I'd be interested in the inspection one. I would just want more information.
Okay,
Right now, I'm dead against it, and the reason I'm dead against it is we have an electrical inspector in town, he's part-time, he works full-time, and we're not paying him full-time, so why should he be here all day? And we have people continuously in this town coming in and doing work without permits, without licenses, and they're not getting caught. And we're not set up to catch these people. The building inspector's there 8 hours a day. He catches bad guys. He turns them in. He does everything. He does pretty good. I don't know if the plumbing inspector does, but if we went to a regional, if we think we've got bad protection now, forget it after, because this guy's gonna be up out of Chesterfield. I have grave concerns. He's not gonna patrol this town like the building inspector does. And so even though we've just got 1 out of 3 doing that, it's better than none. And that's my concern.
So I'm still confused as to where we're going with this, unless somebody can
I'd like to see somebody for the inspection program.
All right, so we
I
want to...
honestly would.
Make a motion that someone come down and speak to us about the inspection program.
There you go. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Well, just to make clear that we are going to respond, that we're positively interested in both areas, and we further want information.
I got the impression we weren't positively we were looking for just more information. I think it's a little less than positive. I think we remotely might be interested.
Well, I mean, if you indicate interest, sort of a dichotomy there, yes
We're just
or no.
interested, that's
Yeah.
our chest.
Right, but yes, the other thing is the new executive is sending out now a survey because he wants to know what's out there. And
Right.
I think it's actually them.
That's what I
asking-
meant by
Yeah.
positively interested as opposed to negatively interested or not interested. So,
Well, if it's a cost savings, why wouldn't we be interested, period? And then
well, because of
so-
some of the concerns, such as Doug has mentioned there, that there may be a decrease in the amount of surveillance, which we need to find out. We need to ask them what their plan is for that.
So,
I would be positively interested. Just-
Guess I really started a debate there with the word positive.
Yeah, we're way about you.
It's the power of positive speaking.
back to the motion. Is there any further discussion? There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Vote the question.
Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. What are we doing with the accounting one?
We have someone come talk to us about that as well.
I'd like to move that Diana and David fill this out, though, and provide that information to help this Hampshire Council of Governments get a sense of the market.
I second that motion with the clarification, David Kielsen,
What did I say?
not me.
Oh. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Jess, who did you mean?
Something positive.
Back to the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
I hope you understood those motions.
I did, thank you.
I'm not sure either.
And the key forms, I didn't hand them to you, Mike, but, so I have 2 types of key forms here. I have the key issues.
I thought we were done with it.
Well, no, we're still. Well, these are the janitors. So these are the ones I received back, approved and disapproved. A couple that are disapproved. But I did do them on that sheet just so we're on record of who's getting one. And then this is just a straggler that needs to be signed by you. She's already got a key. And this is a request that is for Tim. Tim is at the back of the room right now, and what he's asking is if he could, or ECTV is actually asking for a key just for the meeting room. They are now using that closet for storing their equipment, and it's locked. It's a locked closet, which we want it to stay locked, but he needs a key, and every time he comes, he has to get it. He doesn't just come on meeting days either. He comes on other times to work on the equipment and such. And all it would open would be this meeting room and the upstairs meeting room.
Floodgates open.
Here we go. All right.
Everybody will have a key by.
There's only 1, 2. Let's see if we can lump these together. We have, and this is a discussion that, Board of Health, janitor, let's get the janitor, I'm gonna try and get the approved.
Are you singularly approving this?
No, I'm, the department heads, the issue here has come up, and I guess I've been involved in it. Joe Muse cleans the building in the morning, and he would like to gain access to the offices so he can do it before people arrive and move through. One department has said they don't want him in there when they're not there.
Which department said?
Town accountant. So I told Joe that then they have to clean their own. If they don't want to
Leave it
be,
outside the door at night.
huh?
Leave the trash outside the door at night.
You know, whatever, but he's not, you know, if they don't want him in there, then he's not gonna clean it. They'll have to clean their own. The other departments evidently have now agreed to let Joe go in.
Except the assessing department, which I have not heard back. But I did hear that they weren't going to approve, but I haven't gotten their form
I
yet.
want to let the janitor in to clean the room. I mean, Joe's been doing.
Well,
it for
actually,
years.
it's not, I was thinking it was the treasurer collector, but it's only town accountant that's now disapproving.
That's true, yes.
What's the drawback of having someone clean the office?
They thought they were confidential documents and they didn't want them in there, but this has changed since the last time, I guess, I looked at this, and this is all reversed now. Now it's the town accountant who says no access, and everybody else on the building says yes, I was wrong.
Is Joe bonded?
No.
It's our employee, no. So, we now have approval from everybody so he can clean their offices, but he needs a key to get in before hours to gain.
Makes logical sense to me. I understand your reluctance to go giving out keys, but at the same time, there's a certain common sense.
Right, so this would approve, these would approve to give him a key to all of these offices, the town collector, the selectmen, the building department, Board of Health, town clerk, and water. So he would now have access to everybody on the first floor,
Except the assessors.
except we don't have one back from the
I don't have one back. They may approve it. I have not gotten it back.
If Mike, if they don't give them a key, like the accountant, then they have to clean their offices and they have to put the trash out at night, so
Right.
Joe picks it up in the morning
Right.
when he comes in.
Right, and that's, and evidently that has persuaded the other offices to agree to it, because the last time I knew, there were a certain number of offices on this floor that didn't want him in there. But now that's changed. So he wants to simply come in and do, Joe being Joe wants to come in and do it quick, early hours when he can do it better than when he's trying to work around them. Does anybody want to make a motion
Make
concerning?
a motion with the statement that if they don't choose to have him go in with a key, then they have to put the trash at night outside when they close the office.
Right. The motion is
Make a motion that Joe
get keys to all these offices.
clean the offices.
Is there a second?
Second.
But my only concern is that, you know, he's trying to set a schedule that the offices that don't give him keys, they have to be,
They have to do their own.
well, we have to I would put it in the motion, those offices.
Well, he actually works, though, until 10:30 in the morning, so he's here 3 hours
I think
after
the biggest
that,
thing
or
was
2
these
hours.
offices down here he wanted to get through, but.
Yeah, he just wanted to dry mop them. He goes through and does the laundry, the trash after. I got laundry in my mind.
That's something we might
Trash
want
after.
to, we might want to think about or consider. I would assume all of the offices in there that have confidential information in them, that confidential information is locked up at night. Am I assuming correctly?
That's correct. Now that we had quite a few file cabinets that didn't lock or we didn't have keys to, but we did replace, we bought, you remember 14 of them we
So
replaced.
we're really safe. I mean, you know, Joe is a town employee, and there's nothing in there that he can see confidentially that would breach anything.
No, unless they leave work on their desks or
Yeah.
whatnot, but
What was the setup over at the old town hall?
Joe didn't have access to the offices before or after hours, unless you specifically gave him your key, which some people did, but.
Should we put out a memo to all town offices that anything which is confidential should be locked up at night and not be allowed to be on the desk? That way we won't have an incident, we cannot have an incident? Because they all have the means to lock these things up. And that way they've been given the order, you know, their office is gonna be cleaned and that thing, there can't be anything confidential out. That way they can never cry, oh, this is missing.
Still could technically,
What do you
but
think, Mike?
Make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that all the town offices receive a memo from the Board of Selectmen stating, upon closing every night, all confidential information will be secured.
And locked away.
Yes.
Is there a second?
A second, that
Is there any further discussion?
should be, it's part of the policy anyway.
Yeah, it should be confidentiality, but wouldn't hurt to send it out as a reminder.
Friendly reminder.
Yes. Well, no, it's a common sense reminder, but sometimes we don't use that. I mean, we're humans.
All right, motion and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
We also have a key request from Joy Skypeck for a main door key. How many main door keys will there be out now?
Let's see.
David have a main door key?
No, David does not. No, they only have one in their office, and Joyce has it. Most offices only have one now, and they're sharing. We had 10, and I think you authorized the additional 2 for staff that didn't have them. But now,
This just gets out of hand so quickly. This is back to the days when we took everybody's keys away because we had so many out there.
We were missing files.
All right, Joyce has made a request for a front door, or main. Excuse me.
Do you care for a lozenge?
I had been sucking on them.
Oh, okay.
Only for those.
I'm going to owe you a fortune by the end of the night.
There's
Oh,
some water.
I had everything. Main door key. Does anybody want to talk about that?
She has a need to enter. I don't know how you can deny a
Make
key.
a motion to give it to her.
Second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Now we get to do Tim.
Don't worry, guys. This kitchen appliance is a little bit on mine. Just kidding.
You could do those screens.
So you just want a key to the closet?
Yeah, just so I can get my stuff out.
What else is in the closet?
Where do you get the room? Isn't the room locked?
the room is locked and the closet's locked, but they're both on the same key. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, so if we give him a key, he gets a key to our room?
It's a key to this meeting room, yeah. The only reason we keep it locked is because of that equipment. Well, and the appliances right now, but eventually, you know, we wouldn't normally lock it unless, but we've been keeping that in here for
No
now.
offense, but Tim's not an employee.
That's true.
I don't make requests.
I understand. And you've certainly heard us over enough nights battling how many keys are out there.
Oh, I can
Can't we, what do you do now when you come in and you gotta go through our office to get a key?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't care whether I get one or not. It's just as long as somebody's gonna be here to give me the key to get into it.
Have you had a problem getting in here?
Truthfully, no.
All right.
You can always call Mike at home, he's the chairman.
Well,
I don't have a key.
you could actually, I just thought of something too. You know, we do have a key for this meeting, for the meeting room at dispatch, so that's another thing. You could just pick it up at dispatch. Because I'm just concerned that sometimes when Tim gets here, that's like the time that I might like want to go get a bite to eat at dinner time, and I feel responsible for making sure he gets in and gets into this room.
But so the worst case scenario is you
You
gotta
could
go
go to
over-
dispatch and
Go
sign
to
it.
dispatch and get the key, and then you gotta bring it back.
And worst comes to worst, just wait till she gets back. It's not like it's that big of a deal.
Okay.
So does somebody wanna make a motion?
I didn't really make the request.
Pass over there, Mike.
I put down rejected.
Yes,
You're
you
out.
got to reject a key.
You have to reject Tim.
I'll feel better now, Tim.
Tim, your key's been rejected.
I'm glad to know that you didn't really ask for it.
No, Greg asked on his behalf.
Ask for stuff from me all the time. I find out about it a minute before.
Well, Greg just thought it would be easier for you to come over.
We gotta come back to, can I ask, where are our minutes? I mean, we haven't had minutes in,
Yeah, we did a
Yeah,
lot
you did.
last
You
week.
had, yeah, you had, the last 2 weeks ago, you had, I think when you were absent, Mike, they did like 8 sets.
Do we know-
We had a bunch last week.
do we know how far behind we are, or are we behind? or-
I don't think we're that far
No, we're
behind.
close.
Yeah, maybe last week, we've been meeting every week too, so there's been a higher quantity of
All right,
minutes.
we have a timber cutting permit. Coming back to what we started.
Where is it, I don't see that in there.
It came as an email to you today. If you didn't get your email late around 4 o'clock, or 3, 4 o'clock, you didn't get it. It's Christopher Wayne, 42 Mine Road, West Hampton. The timber cutting area is Glendale. Oh, Glendale.
Let's play yours.
Yeah.
Those lots that are along the edge there, we put the 4 houses up, further in.
No, I don't think so.
Cold Spring, right there.
It just says Glendale Road. How the hell are we supposed to know?
What am I supposed to swear?
Long-term forest management.
Only 84.
84 acres on Glendale Road.
I didn't know you had that many acres over there.
So that
Oh, you know where this is Christopher Wayne.
Yeah.
This has Frank's
Frank's land.
old Glendale,
Cold Spring Road.
no,
Behind the Hendricks house there.
no, well, it goes up there,
Yeah.
but it comes off of, in front of Edward Avenue. There was originally supposed to be a subdivision up on the hill.
Right. And he didn't have the access road.
And he waited too long. So that's got to be that property, because it was almost 100 acres, and here it is.
Is that behind the pumpkin patch?
No,
No, it's a different place?
That's exactly where it is. It goes all the way up to the Beagle Club on Lead Mine Road.
Yeah.
Any number of streams and boundaries in there. So that's where it's at. And they're taking out a lot. 69 MBF, million board feet? Or 1,000 board feet. 69,000 board feet of white pine, 40,000 hemlock, 2 of white ash, 2 of beech, 18 of birch, red maple, sugar maple. Total 1,000 board, 349,000 board feet, 55 cordwood, and 40 tons of pulp.
Wow.
I'm assuming that's all that you don't add all of those into any one number.
So is it before the river, the brook, or is it?
You know where Edward Avenue comes out?
Yeah. Right
Straight
across,
ahead.
straight across on the hill there.
And it goes out behind the houses and goes all the way out to the Beagle Club.
Now, how come that never got developed?
Because he swapped some land. You want the whole history?
Well, I mean, he has no frontage, is it what you're saying?
He swapped off some land that he could have had a road that went from Glendale to Lead Mine, I think. And he swapped some land and cut himself off. He let the permit go too long, and then there's too many stream crossings under the new regs to make it work. There was a proposal for like 80 homes in there or something.
Well,
Now I think they can get 10. But they'd obviously be large.
I make a motion to issue the permit.
Yeah, regretfully, a second, that's too bad. It's their land.
does Ed know about it? It came by an email, does Ed know about it?
We sent it, right, it went to him,
Good.
so. I guess we have a motion to approve the permit. And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There's nothing you can do in private land, right, when people want.
The only thing is that that's gonna be a problem because Ed's gonna be, that's the newly constructed part of Glendale.
It's a narrow road, it's the old Kings Road.
It's on the bad hill.
It's 3 rods wide, so it's a narrow road. It got a special permit from the state to be narrow, to be preserved as one of the
Right.
oldest roads in town.
And where they're gonna have to come out is a bad section of the hill and the curve.
Yeah.
And
Some could hurt the road.
the road is brand new and Ed's gonna be worried about his road.
And they're not gonna go out Easthampton side. I mean, that road on the Easthampton side past.
Well, that's
4,000
the
miles.
worst thing they can do is go out to Easthampton because that bridge isn't rated for the weight of the trucks.
Yeah, and the road out there is just a total mess.
Yeah.
They'll destroy it.
And the bridge below my house is a box culvert, and the bridge the other way is a box culvert, so. Anyway, charter we have next week.
You have actually a letter, though?
Yeah, we have
that-
the letter from town council about our options. Town hall updates, anything?
Can I mention something on charter, please?
Sure you can.
Thank you, sir. I requested of Diana today to reach out to all of her agencies that she has contact with, for all those little towns around here. It's a nice way of putting it. To see if any other towns have had or are having the same problem as us in regard to their communications. In other words, do they have up-to-date contracts? Are they supposedly charging them over and this and that and blah, blah, blah? Just so maybe we can get some history on it for when we meet next Tuesday.
And I did get a phone call from Glenn Cardinal, who is the co-chair of the Buckland and Shelburne Cable Advisory. Buckland has been negotiating with Comcast for 4 years and has not come to an agreement at this point. Their issues are the same as ours. They want a less density in their homes per mile. They want actually 12. We actually wanted 15, and their contract is 30. They also had the same issue with setbacks and the construction formulas. So I just wanted to let you know mostly that when I think, when people are saying that there's a lot of years, that have gone by, and I mean, Buckland's been actively trying to negotiate with them, with Comcast, not Charter, but Comcast for 4 years, and they basically neither one of them will budge, so they're at a standstill. So the next step is for them to just decide, if they're going to reissue the license at all.
So maybe we can swap Charter to them and we'll take Comcast. We can take the others.
Mike, can I just go back to the timber cutting? Is that going to happen now in mud season? When is that going to start? 'Cause it's going to be a bloody mess over there. Are they going to start cutting in the next couple of weeks, or, I mean, the ground's already softening up.
I would think that
They would wait until the ground firmed.
Yeah, they would normally wait either when it's frozen, which is when they usually come in and do it.
There's no mention of time. I'm sorry, Diana.
No, I
I was
don't.
thinking about how narrow that road is.
It says something about see a letter attached. See attached letter.
Still on cover?
That's our letter. Oh, wait a minute. It is that letter. Sorry, I was looking at this other letter before. Oh, it was DCR. Christopher Mancini, Forester for Service Forest District Number 8. Our office is and this is dated February 25th, so about a month ago. Forest cutting plan described the proposed harvest approximately 84 acres of your farmland in Southampton. The following field review on afternoon of 2/24. The plan has been disapproved so that until the following issues can be addressed: sand treatment, 3 documented stream crossings with filter strips, and boundaries are not consistently visible.
I make a motion to rescind our other.
Second.
Well,
This doesn't make sense to have a timber cutting at the end of March. These are things we deal with in November.
okay, we're gonna. Who made the original motion?
Doug did, and I seconded.
So I should rescind mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I rescind the original motion.
I rescind my second.
There's a new motion.
Not to approve.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Third.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. So what's the follow-up with it, though? We wait for a hearing from...
We should probably send a notice to the applicant that we did not approve the timber cutting permit.
I think we should send a notice to the forester,
And the
because
forester.
again, the forester's already approved, I think it's already been approved by the forester, so. Has
Again?
has it been approved?
No.
Do you see
DCR
any
said-
stamp on it? On the top corner of that other piece, Mike, the permit, that's not stamped on the corner, is it? No, on the permit
The other one
itself.
under your right here?
Under your, yeah.
No.
It's not been approved. Okay, great. So we should,
I think as a courtesy to Mr. Wayne, we should say, we have disapproved your application for permit due to the fact that DCR has not approved it first.
I think that's a good
Because
idea.
it just sounds like we're being the bully saying no, but I think if we're giving him a good valid reason why, that way he'll understand it.
Or unless we're the end around, because he doesn't want to go by DCOs.
He's got to go through DCF. He
Yes,
can't-
okay.
he can't do without that. Good call, David.
Oh, you caught that, yeah.
So we did charter, we did timber cutting. Town hall, nothing new to report on town hall, is there? Diana,
I'm sorry.
nothing new on town hall?
Oh, no, we're still working on the
Building
punch
use
list.
policy? Nothing?
Actually, could I ask a question about the building use policy? I know we haven't really had extensive discussion, and I'm trying to draft a policy. The one thing that had been brought up before is alcohol or no alcohol. Do you want to see a draft of a policy that includes the opportunity to have alcohol in the building with the proper approvals?
Well, I thought it was going to be like Connick Park, with, functions either in here or in the senior center where they hold harmless agreements, the usual stuff. Because they serve.
Now they're on your property, you know, I suppose they are.
They're on our property over there.
I mean, I think the recommended, what I've looked at from other towns, and I think what I saw something that I read from another community, is that they recommend that not only the hold harmless agreement, but they actually have to get assert of liability, meaning they have to actually add us, they have to get a rider, basically, that adds the town as a party in the which is going to be, you know, it's going to reduce the number of people that can actually do that, because you have to, you know, it's more like agencies and organizations might have the ability to do that, but individuals may not. But they do, I mean, I think if, in terms of that, having alcohol in this building, you should definitely be an additional insured on their policy.
Or do we want to just simply say no alcohol in this building? Makes life so much simpler.
Well, I just, there was I think the Easthampton Chamber of Commerce wanted to have one of their meetings there already, sort of celebrating the new building, and, you know, they tend to have a beer or a glass of wine. And you never know what the seniors are going to want. I mean, are they going to want to have...
Right, when they have Thanksgiving dinners or...
Yeah, so I think you have to be... So I think you should have a permitting process.
Well, here's the first problem. We don't have a bill, we don't have a way to anybody outside of town people, town committees or whatever, to use this building.
No, it'd be like just like Conant Park. I envision it to be like Conant Park.
No, but right now, we have no way to give this building over to an outside group to come in and...
Right.
No, I'm not saying right now, I'm just saying I've already been approached, so I think maybe in the future we'll be approached again.
Well, but the problem is, how are you going to, before you give out the building, we've got to have a plan.
Well, that's what I'm trying to work on.
That's all part of the plan, that's what I'm
Right.
saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to work on a policy, just to give you a draft. I've given you some examples, but more specifically, a draft of a policy for the use, how you let the building out and what requirements there are, and then an application that would go along with it that somebody, similar to what they do at the school. They do something very similar at the school. They have a very detailed policy, and then they have a two-page application, so.
But don't you think that we need to have an employee who's going to be available here when the outside group is here, like they do at the school?
Or they hire a janitor or something like
Well,
that.
that's, we got to find that person.
They have one entrance that comes in, you're talking about the senior center or something.
No, I'm saying, if it's a town group, I don't say we have to have a janitor or someone to come in. But if it's an outside group, you've got to have
A
someone.
sponsor of sorts.
No, you're gonna have someone comes in and checks to make sure the building is secure, make sure there's no damage to the building as the group leaves, and closes up the building after they're gone.
So that'll be all part of the policy. And it may have one, like Amherst or Northampton might have
But
one.
the problem is to find that person before you put a policy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a thought and process, but...
Right. Yeah, there are applications that do outline that there's a cost associated with that. If somebody has to be here, that you have to pay for that, basically, as part of your fee.
I wonder if the library has a policy. If they have the function over there, do they have a policy that's sort of set up by the trustees, even though it's the library and stuff is on town property?
Should our policy
Yeah, I can check. I can check with them. I mean, I think if we create a good policy for this building, it'd be great if it was just uniform for all towns.
Well, I was just gonna say, should we get the school one?
I do have the school one, so I
Be
can,
consistent with the school unless they've got something wrong with
Well,
it.
their
Does the fire
policy is
department
much-
have a Christmas party over in the shed, and is there alcohol served there? Is there a policy for that, excuse me, for that building? I mean, you could just, sorry.
It should be a town policy,
yeah, I think it should be townwide.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll keep working on that. I'll look at options for alcohol and no alcohol.
Where did the chief go? He was here.
How was he?
It was in and out.
Select Board Annual Town Report and Dedication. Did we?
Yes, you need to decide on that. Who's going to write the annual town report and the dedication?
I nominate our wordsmith, Just Odds.
And what about, did we ask the art teacher at Norris for
Oh, I haven't done that. Art cover, but it's gonna have to be black and white.
That's second.
Yes, you're just so eloquent.
Yeah, there you go. 'Cause I went to
You
school.
wanted did you want an artist rendition of this building? Is that what you were suggesting?
Keep going.
Just any?
Any sort of, just, come up with 5 or 10 finalists in black and white, it can be charcoal or pencil, and then we'll pick it and call
Well,
it a
you
day.
could even have, if it's black and white and we just run it off, we could do first, second, third place kind of deal and get more
Are
of
you
them.
talking about children's?
Yeah, Norris Arts, teacher and just have them,
We could do one for each grade. All right, that accomplishes the open public agenda for tonight. Is anybody, unless anybody wants to go back over anything?
Mr. Chair, are we going to discuss then our response to this letter from Councilman?
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
Is that an open session?
Yes, I would think that's an open session. Yes.
Can we do it even though?
The only thing you cannot do is render an opinion, I don't think, as to guilt or innocence, violation or non-violation, or default.
That's one of our options here, though, is to render an opinion.
Well, I don't think you, well, I suppose at this point in time, the evidence is closed, so yeah, I think you can render.
You've closed the public hearing.
We did close the public hearing, so. But,
in summary, of the last page or so, he sums up what the options are.
Evaluation and recommendation.
Yeah.
LDs, yeah. Well, Mr. Chair, I did a little bit of math here, and assuming that it goes back to December 14th, the letter is the start date for the LDs of $100 a day, and then after the first 30 days, or January 14th, additional 50. So roughly, we would be looking at, in liquidated damages, approximately $10,000 or $12,000, which is pretty consistent with the number I came up with the other night that was under discussion.
yeah, and,
But if you go back and you look at John Balicki, I don't know when the timeline is, but if you go back and look at John Balicki, that was back in August.
Right, but the conditions under which we can assess and receive LDs, liquidated
But
damages,
there may be some other people out there. Do they have to have been noticed?
you're not going to collect damages back to then.
But no, but do they have to be under notice that those people stepped forward and were recognized as having a complaint? Or can anyone now who's had a complaint come forward? Or is it just the evidence that was given at the hearing?
yep.
Okay.
So are we trying to have them reimburse?
Well, that was my suggestion was, as I said, to the folks from Charter, I said, we're only looking at 10,000, and the attorney bills that we're racking up just that night alone were, a few $1,000. So why not just give the money back and
Well,
move forward?
I would think, my thought process was give the money back, and they can't pass through that increase on a rate increase to anybody.
Yeah.
They've got to be prevented from passing that back through.
Are they liable for anything in small claims then, if they recognize their guilt by giving back?
We would
the
release
money?
them.
But no, from other people that didn't step up, they hear about it.
That would be their problem,
But could they?
Yeah.
Okay.
barring the statute of limitation problem. But I think, the only thing I'm concerned about is that they don't pass through whatever we assess them to the ratepayers,
They will. But they will.
Well, and I don't know whether it's within our power to impose a rate freeze for a year or two or not.
Well, they have a three-part, their triple play that they called it, includes cable for cable TV. That is set by DTE, just the way electricity used to be set. The other two are open market, which is internet service and phone. But the basic cable, which is $14 and change a month, is set by the state.
Good point, Chester. So my
So that wouldn't
internet,
change.
Right.
so my internet fees just went up.
Yep. But so did your speed, too. Charter speed, have you seen all the ads and billboards and things that they've done?
So, but our final discussions on that should be next week.
Are they coming back?
Yeah, that's when we're gonna,
Do you want to,
Can I interject something here?
1 second, sir. Yes.
do we want to talk about this to come to some sort of conclusion before we meet with them? Or do you want to just have a conclusion while they're sitting here
I
watching
think you
this
have a conclusion while you're sitting here.
tonight?
No, while they're sitting here.
So while we're going to debate it while they're here?
Yeah, I think we have to.
Okay.
That's the way I suggested.
Well, that's fine, that's fine.
Because it's a public debate.
Because it's a public debate and they should hear.
Well, this is public too. but-
No, but we told them we would resolve it next week with them here.
Okay, that's fine.
We have our ideas about
Yeah.
recommendations.
Right. Yes, sir.
I don't know how you people can assess, or how we can assess them, okay? Here we go. First of all, the contract does not exist. There's no contract whatsoever. We can jump up and down, we can scream, it's all our fault, it's this guy's fault, that fault. We have no contract at all. Whatsoever.
But actually,
Oh,
sir,
no, okay? I didn't,
Let's
You
look
have
at
no contract. They don't charge you to put cable in any close to the road according to the contract or the old contract. So they're stuck there. But if you're 1,000 feet off the road, and I spent 30 years in the phone company, even back then, there's a lot of planning that goes into delivering service to somebody who's 1,000 feet, 700 feet off the road. Coax cable, gentlemen, says it costs $333 to put that in for coax cable. It's not coax cable that they use, it's hardline. It takes amplifiers, these amplifiers cost money. It takes people. And then they knock $1,000 off this thing. I think if this thing ever went into court, they'd laugh us out of court. We have no contract. And that's it, none of black and white. They can do what they can do almost what they like to do, but at least they charge for what it costs. At least according to what they're saying. Assessing them, now you can go ahead and assess them. I don't think you're going to get into it. And I don't think you should assess these people. I think you should resolve this thing. I think maybe they should have gotten up. If I had a chat with someone else here, we should have resolved it. They should have resolved it right then and there. Would have made good PR.
Right.
All right? And we're all agreed on that. But on the other hand, this thing is going 4 years. And then we hear another town's doing the same thing. We have no guidelines from what I've been able to be able to sit down with you. And the 5 people who stand on that to work it out never arrived at that. I think that, if you're up against some people who really know what they're talking about versus people like me who have no idea what it costs to put this stuff in the air. I have some idea whether there's losses, cables, et cetera, because I have some background on RF. And that's what we're talking about. Or is video signals or not, it's still radio frequency on those cables. All right. But that's it.
All right, thank you very much, sir. We also have in front of you, you have Diana's evaluation that we need to do. Let's come to it. Well, how do we want to, this is
You can bring those back next week if you'd like.
All right.
I'm going to actually have a 2-page supplement to that next week, if you don't mind.
Can you just, so what are we doing with these little boxes?
You just put your numbers into the widest of the boxes that you see.
The tallest of the boxes?
That could be, yeah. Tall and wide.
The biggest
So
square.
I'm putting numbers in the tallest of the boxes.
Yes, the tallest.
You're going to just add them and divide by 5, and it's going to be...
We can do that.
How much it
Really,
costs, too?
really, Jess, which box? You get 1 through 5. Let's say goal 1.
I'm going to assume that box, Jess,
Yes.
And why all these little boxes over here?
just to test you.
Those are tables, because that way I can very easily expand those tables and put everybody's in.
Oh, so you're talking about the one that says under BOS?
Yeah.
That's
How about
where
these little tall boxes?
you're putting your numbers in under
Because
BOS.
he might,
Put it anywhere, he can figure it out.
Guess what BOS is?
Lots of stones?
See, each one of you will do that, I'll collate the information.
and if you want to expand, you can...
I can just take my little mouse and go, zoom, and it makes it wider than the Rio Grande.
I know you love doing this.
Well, I'm glad I did conduct this.
All
All right. Now, we have to go into executive sessions. Our agenda says Council on Aging Director. That's not true anymore. That one has been withdrawn for this evening. That one is now going to come up sometime late April, I believe.
Right, Frank?
In April.
Because the Council on Aging didn't take their vote, so that one's going to be held up until they take a vote. But we have another department with a similar problem, so we're going to go into executive session under the same, that's for Doug. Executive session under MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21, Number 1. I need a motion and a roll call.
McDougal, aye. Motion so moved.
When should I?
God's eye.
Thielen, aye.
McDougal, aye.